What I'm about to tell you will make you question every intense feeling you've ever had for someone who isn't your age. Because here's what psychology actually reveals about age gap attraction, and it's not what most people want to hear. What feels like rare once-in-a-lifetime connection might be something your brain is constructing. Something built from projection, emotional need, and neurological patterns that feel like love but operate very differently underneath. Stay with me, because understanding this could protect you from a mistake you cannot easily undo. Why it feels so powerful when someone significantly older or younger enters your emotional world. Your mind does something very specific and very dangerous. It fills in the gaps with meaning. It tells you this must be rare, this must be fate, no one has ever made me feel quite like this. But psychology tells a different story. Age gap attraction is frequently built on something called projection, one of the most powerful distortions in human connection. When you're younger, you may project stability, wisdom, and emotional completeness onto someone older. They appear grounded and certain in a world where you still feel uncertain. But what you're responding to isn't necessarily who they are. It's your need for direction reflected back at you. When you're older, the projection shifts. Youth, energy, feeling seen in ways life stopped offering years ago. Feeling chosen in a way that reawakens something dormant. Both feel like chemistry, and both can be mistaken for compatibility. Why your brain gets addicted? Here's the part nobody talks about clearly. Projection feels like chemistry because it creates intensity without stability. The mind fills in missing emotional information with fantasy, and fantasy becomes emotionally addictive, activating the same dopamine pathways as genuine reward. You start anticipating messages, overthinking silence, assigning meaning to small gestures that were never meant to carry that weight. And the more uncertainty the dynamic holds, the stronger the emotional pull becomes. Your nervous system goes on high alert. Every interaction feels amplified. Every moment feels significant. But what you're chasing isn't just the person. It's the feeling of being chosen by someone who feels different from your ordinary experience. And difference gets mistaken for depth when it's often just unfamiliar emotional territory. Unfamiliar is not the same as right. The inconsistency trap. There's a specific moment in age gap connections where emotional intensity becomes so normalized, you stop questioning it entirely. And that's exactly when it becomes most dangerous, because unpredictability is one of the strongest psychological drivers of emotional fixation. The human brain pays more attention to what it cannot predict. So when someone gives you attention in waves, deeply engaged one moment, distant the next, your nervous system begins to prioritize them without your conscious permission. You tell yourself they're complex, uniquely deep, misunderstood, but psychology shows that inconsistency creates more attachment than consistency ever could. You're not just responding to the person anymore, you're responding to the pattern they create inside your nervous system. And that pattern becomes addictive, keeping your attention activated even in their complete absence. The speed illusion age gap dynamics often move fast. Deep conversations arrive early. Emotional disclosure accelerates, attachment signals intensify, and there's a powerful sense that something significant is happening, but speed is not depth. Sometimes speed is simply two people projecting meaning onto each other faster than they're actually building understanding. Real emotional connection isn't measured by intensity alone. It's measured by clarity, consistency, and mutual emotional responsibility. When those foundations get skipped because both people feel something important is unfolding, you end up with emotional bonding without structural grounding. And over time, that lack of grounding reveals itself in confusion, overthinking, and dependency cycles where you keep trying to stabilize something that was never fully stable to begin with. The question of life timing. Even when feelings are completely genuine, two people can deeply care for each other and still be profoundly misaligned. When one person is building identity, emotional independence, or career, while the other is in an entirely different life phase, the relationship begins carrying invisible pressure that no amount of chemistry can resolve. And what often happens quietly is this. Both people start adjusting themselves to make the connection work, shrinking certain needs, amplifying others, tolerating discomfort because the emotional high feels worth it. But adjustment is not alignment. Adjustment requires constant effort. Alignment feels natural, and that distinction becomes critical over time. How to know what's real age gap attraction is not automatically wrong. It's not automatically right either. What matters is not the age difference itself, but the emotional structure inside it. Whether both people are meeting each other as genuine equals in emotional responsibility, respect, and clarity, or whether one person is silently carrying more emotional weight than the other realizes. The most important question to ask yourself in any intense connection is not how do I feel, but how do I consistently feel over time? Do you feel secure or uncertain? Grounded or emotionally activated? Clear or constantly confused? Because clarity is rarely chaotic and confusion is rarely random. It usually points to misalignment in timing, expectations, or emotional availability. If someone truly fits into your life in a healthy way, you won't feel like you're constantly decoding them. You'll feel understood without needing to overanalyze every single interaction. Here's what I want you to leave with today. Intensity can feel like meaning, but meaning is built through consistency, not emotional spikes. If this connection is real, it will survive your clarity. It will not require you to ignore your instincts, your needs, or your emotional stability to keep existing. And if it does require that, then what you're feeling, however powerful, is not love in its most grounded form. It's emotional entanglement shaped by difference, timing, and psychological projection. You deserve to know the difference. Because once you truly do, you will never again confuse chaos for connection. Like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear it.